My friends, stop what you are doing right now. Because what I am about to tell you is something that the most powerful governments on Earth are desperately trying to keep quiet. 3 intelligence agencies, 2 world powers, and 1 secret that just leaked out. And it changes everything you thought you knew about the Iran war. I have been covering this conflict since day one, and I promise you nothing prepared me for what I found this morning. So lock in, because once you hear this, you cannot unhear it. Let me start with a question. What if the ceasefire was never real? What if everything you watched on the news, the negotiations, the announcements, the sighs of relief, was a carefully constructed performance? And what if, behind that performance, something far darker and far more dangerous was already being set in motion? I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me, because the evidence is not a theory. It is satellite images. It is Reuters. It is Bloomberg. It is the New York Times. And it is all pointing in the same direction. Here is the first thing they did not tell you. While every major news outlet was celebrating the ceasefire, OSINT analysts, the independent researchers with satellite access who have been more accurate than any government spokesperson in this entire conflict, spotted something that made no sense. Military activity. Coordinated. Deliberate. In a location that was supposed to be completely empty. A location where, according to every official statement, absolutely nothing was happening. The images sat online for 4 days. For days. Not a single mainstream journalist touched it. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself who benefits from that silence. And then ask yourself this: if they hid that, what else are they hiding right now? Because on May 12th, 2 of the most respected news organizations in the world published reports within hours of each other. Reuters said Saudi Arabia launched covert strikes against Iran. Bloomberg confirmed the UAE retaliated militarily against Iranian attacks on its own soil. And Channel 12, citing Western intelligence sources, reported that Qatar, the country that was publicly acting as a neutral mediator, the country that was sitting across the table from both sides, had also been quietly running strikes inside Iran the entire time. Every single one of these countries denied it. Repeatedly. Aggressively. On camera. And then in one single news cycle, all of it collapsed. All the denials. All the official statements. Gone. So when you hear an official denial now, about anything, you already know what it means. But here is where the story gets truly unsettling. Because while the Gulf countries were hiding their airstrikes, the United States was doing something that nobody wanted to explain publicly. 53 F-16 Fighting Falcons are now confirmed at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. 2 full combat squadrons. Simultaneously, a dozen American tanker aircraft are sitting at an airbase in Israel. Tankers do not exist for defense. Tankers exist for one purpose only: to extend the range and endurance of combat aircraft running offensive operations. You pair those tankers with 53 F-16s and you do not have a defensive posture. You have a strike package. Fully assembled. Fully armed. Waiting. The only thing missing is the order. And that order could come from one man, at any moment, with zero warning. Now here is the detail that stopped me completely. Iran is not broken. I need you to really hear that. Because the entire narrative, the one pushed by governments, repeated by anchors, printed in headlines, was built on the idea that the strikes worked. That Iran was crippled. That its military had been degraded beyond recovery. But on May 12th, the New York Times published findings from a classified intelligence assessment. Iran still has operational access to 30 of its 33 missile sites. 70% of its missile launchers are intact. 70% after everything. After all of it. And then it gets stranger. Following the ceasefire announcement, Iran quietly moved military aircraft into Pakistan. An RC-130 intelligence and reconnaissance plane was confirmed at a Pakistani air base through satellite imagery. Other aircraft are believed to have been moved there as well. And analysts are now saying those aircraft may have been upgraded using Chinese technology through Pakistani military channels. While everyone was watching the negotiating table, Iran did not use the ceasefire to rest. Iran used the ceasefire to rebuild. Think about how calculated that is. Think about how far ahead they were thinking. On May 1st, 6 Iranian IRGC commandos arrived at Kuwait's Bubiyan Island by boat in the middle of the night. 4 were captured. 2 vanished. The target was American HIMARS equipment on that island, the same island Iran had already struck twice before with drones and missiles. And then on May 10th, a U.S. Air Force F-35, one of the most advanced aircraft ever built, declared a 7,700 emergency near the Strait of Hormuz. The next day, another F-35. Same area. Consecutive days. The footage from both incidents has not been released. And the reason, according to sources tracking this closely, is chilling. Releasing that footage would immediately breach the ceasefire and restart the war. So they are sitting on it. Right now. As you watch this, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu sat down for a 60 minutes interview and said it without blinking. The war is not over. There is still nuclear material. There are still ballistic missiles. There is still work to be done. That is not the language of a man who thinks this conflict has ended. That is the language of a man who is counting down. And the Trump administration has already prepared for what comes next. If strikes restart, the new operation already has a name. They are calling it Sledgehammer. They named it. It already exists. You do not give something a name unless you intend to use it. You do not build a 2-squadron strike package in Saudi Arabia, park 12 tankers in Israel, name your next operation, and quietly move commandos across Gulf waters because you think this is over. Every single piece is in place. Every single signal is pointing the same direction. My friends, here is the truth that nobody in mainstream media will say directly. This ceasefire is not a peace. It is a reload. Every party in this conflict used the pause to reposition, rearm, and prepare. The covert strikes, the secret bases, the hidden aircraft, the commando raids, the emergency fighter jet landings. Taken individually, you could explain each one away. But together? Together they form a picture so clear and so alarming that I genuinely do not understand how it is not the top story everywhere right now. Round 2 is not a possibility. It is a preparation. The trigger exists. The packages are assembled. The names are chosen. The only question, the one that should be keeping you up at night, is what happens the moment someone decides the pause is over. I will be here when it breaks. See you in the next one.